Hi, welcome to the SAG-AFTRA Foundation's Conversations at Home. I'm Jenelle Riley from Variety. The SAG-AFTRA Foundation has a COVID-19 relief fund to support SAG-AFTRA performers who are in urgent need as this pandemic continues. Since March of 2020, the foundation has given over $6.1 million in aid to 6,500 performers and families facing extreme hardships. If you're a SAG-AFTRA member and you need help, please ask. And if you are able to support your community and this crucial effort, please give. Information can be found in the description of this video. And now it is my pleasure to welcome today's guest. She is a 3-time SAG Award winner, a 2-time Golden Globe Award winner, and an Emmy Award-winning actor. She's the producer and star of I'm Your Woman. Please welcome Rachel Brosnahan. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for that lovely introduction.
Of course. You gave us such a wonderful gift at the end of the year with Yearly Departed, the little eulogy. And here we are in a new year. And I'm just sort of curious, are you the kind of person who makes resolutions?
I make this, I feel extreme anxiety when I don't meet the resolution, although I think it's a great goal. I've been making the same resolution for the last couple of years, which is to be 5 minutes early instead of 5 minutes late, and also to start responding to texts and emails in a timely fashion. It's very rude, and I'm sadly one of those people who has like 12,000 unread emails. So I'll keep making it until I get it right.
That's
what was your New Year's resolution? Are you a resolutions person?
You know, I'm not. I usually don't make them because I'm like, I don't want the pressure, man, I want to live free. And this year it was just really to be more positive because last year was such a negative year.
That's a really good one. Just to be present and positive. I'm gonna borrow that.
And this is primarily an audience of SAG-AFTRA actors who watch this. So I always like to start at the beginning by asking, how did you get your SAG card?
I got Taft-Hartley'd on a film called The Unborn, which was my first movie when I was in, I think in my senior year of high school, and just did a tiny little thing in this film, but was so excited. And then it was between two projects that made me have to join. It was either an episode of Gossip Girl or this film called Coming Up Roses. It was somewhere right in between the two, so I'm not exactly sure which one tipped the hat. But yeah, I'm a proud SAG member.
I didn't realize you were acting professionally even in high school. So you knew early on you wanted to do this.
I definitely knew I wanted to. I don't know if you could really call it that. It was kind of stumbling towards trying to be an actor. But I'll never forget the audition for that project where I told the director that I was unavailable for the shoot because I was supposed to be in the UK. And someone had mentioned to me that in order to be a television actor or a film actor, you just had to mumble your lines, and that's how you did it. And so I swear I went in there and was like, oh, I'm unavailable, and also, yeah, you want to go to the club later? Like, that would be really great for us. I think it would be awesome. And I don't know how on earth I ended up with this role, but I'm very, very grateful for the opportunity that kicked the thing off.
Apparently that was good advice. It worked.
Yeah, it's not advice that I would pass on to my fellow actors, but something happened in the moment. Maybe there was just no one else left in Chicago.
That sounds like Chicago. No good actors there.
Yes, exactly. None at all.
So I'm Your Woman, which is now available on Amazon Prime, comes to us from co-writer-director Julia Hart, who, in my opinion, is batting 1,000. She's never made a bad movie. I'm curious how the script found its way to you and what interested you not only as an actor, but as a producer.
So my manager, Ken Lee, has known Jordan Horowitz, who I co-produced a film with, for many, many, many years, and has sung both Julia and Jordan's praises for many years, and sent the script my way. And I was so moved by Jean's journey, and I left reading the script with more questions than answers, and found myself for the next few days thinking about this character and thinking about why she was doing what she was doing, and why and how this story was unfolding, and had the opportunity to meet with Julia and ask her 1 million questions. And I had been interested in producing. I'd been curious about it. I'd been really inspired by other actresses who had stepped into that role to not only take the reins on their career, but also be able to use their platform and their privilege to empower others to tell stories that are long overdue in the world. And I'm so grateful to Julia and Jordan for giving me the opportunity to step into that space for the first time. They were the right collaborators. This was the right project. And not only did they create that space for me, but Jordan, as an extremely experienced producer, he was a producer on La La Land, took me under his wing and taught me a lot and was really generous with his time and energy, but also made space for me to find my own voice as a producer, and didn't make me feel like I didn't have a voice because I was a newer member of this team. And it was an experience I'll never forget. I got to watch all of the ways in which Julia and Jordan, as filmmakers, put their money where their mouth is, quite literally, in how they hire and who they collaborate with and who they elevate into positions of leadership for the first time. And I'm a different and a better producer out the other side of this project, and I couldn't be more grateful that this was my first experience.
It's kind of crazy to me that you hadn't produced before, and then in the last month of 2020, you have a movie come out and this great special that I've mentioned. You also were a producer on Yearly Departed.
Yeah. Yeah, that's been, I hate to use the term silver lining because it's been such a challenging and scary and uncertain year for so many, for all of us, but for some more than others, certainly. And, but I feel very grateful to have been able to spend a year producing. That's really all we could do in a year where you couldn't shoot things, to be able to develop and work with writers and directors and cinematographers and people that I had never worked with before, but had been fans of from afar, or became fans of anew because I had more time to read new scripts. It's been, it's been an unexpected and amazing year, despite all of the darkness and the heaviness and the shit sandwich that was 2020.
And I'm Your Woman is it's such an interesting film because it's set in the 70s, it's a period piece, and it follows a character who I feel like we've seen her in movies before, but she was never the lead. The girlfriend of the criminal or something like that. And here Jean is front and center. Was there any special research you took out? Because it's not like you can't look at another movie to examine that character. This is really building it from the ground up.
Julia and Jordan made it clear that there were a few films that had inspired them in the writing process. Thief being one of them, Michael Mann's Thief, his first film, and Tuesday Weld's character in Thief in particular. That's actually where the title of the film comes from. Tuesday Weld says to James Caan in a diner, "I'm your woman and you're my man." And so I definitely watched that film as research. But the gift of a character like Jean is that everything is happening to her for the first time. She's so in the moment. And so that was the real exercise, was actually to do my homework and to prepare, but not to, which is against my instinct, I'm such a research nerd, but not to dive too deep into that world because Jean is so far removed from it. And it was more through conversations, many, many hours of conversations with Julia about trauma and motherhood and all of these things that make Jean who she is and creates the woman you first meet at the top of the film, and how she changes and where those important change points are that ultimately brought her to life. But Thief is an incredible movie. And I mean, Kay and The Godfather, there were so many movies that inspired this film. And I appreciate how artfully Julia and Jordan managed to swing the lens onto those characters who are so often at the fringes of these films, or who you meet and who are played by incredible actresses and who make an impact in their short time on screen. But when it comes to a criminal and someone who's enveloped in a life of crime, there's a ripple effect that goes so much further outside of these films than we often get the opportunity to see. And so it's not just Jean being centered in this film that gives us a look at all of the different people who are affected, but also characters like Terry and Cal, who, if they were ever seen in these films, it was even more brief perhaps than the character like Jean, or they weren't included at all, but obviously were very much there on the periphery.
You mentioned you're a research nerd. I'm curious, was there any special research or skills that you had to take on in order to play this role?
I learned to shoot a gun,
Good skill.
which was not my favorite thing in the world. I have not really spent time in an indoor shooting range, and was it was, I feel like I left and my heart was beating out of my chest.
It's
But that's
loud.
also exactly how Jean feels. So
Yeah.
it felt helpful to have had that experience on more than one level. Especially these particular guns, they were big, especially the first one that I shoot, is a big, heavy pistol that the trigger is really hard to pull on. And I'm really grateful to our armor for teaching me about, I think one of the very successful things that this armor did was teach the difference between how real bullets interact with a space and how blanks interact with the space. And he had such a great understanding of storytelling and how those, how different blanks would have a different effect on the scene. So the scene where Jean pulls the trigger for the first time, we were shooting a full blank outside, which makes a very loud noise and scared the crap out of me. And you get to see it on screen, and it was and that was a really cool moment for Jean's journey as well.
So that's not acting, that's you genuinely
Oh,
reacting to
that's
how
me.
loud it is.
Yeah, it was so much louder than I thought it was going to be. Because inside it's one thing, the noise is actually fairly contained, but outside it just reverberates through the trees, and it was a lot louder than than I thought it was going to be. And then baby wrangling, I guess, is the the other skill, and I am so very grateful that I've had the experience of working with babies before this moment, babies and children, at least a little bit, because I don't think that I or any of us could have done this. If Julia didn't have children, if I hadn't worked with children, I don't know if we could have made this movie.
I mean, you can't really give babies direction. They're going to do what they want to do, right?
Absolutely. They are living their lives. They are highly unprofessional scene partners. They're farting and breaking props, and it's a whole mess, but they add so much to these scenes. And one of the coolest parts about shooting this film was that we actually shot fairly chronologically. And part of that was logistics. Babies, they grow and change a lot at that age. The babies were 5.5 months old, I think, when we started shooting with them, and they could barely lift their heads. And by the end, they were scooting across the floor, and it wouldn't have made a lot of sense to go back and forth. But that also allowed for this trust with the baby, between me and the baby, and thus between Jean and Harry, to develop over time. And there are some magical moments where you can see that bond coming to life. One of my favorite moments that you could never script this stuff is that in the motel, Jean looks over at Harry. She's woken up and looks over at Harry, and the baby looked back, and I sort of reached my arm up and he grabbed my hand, and we were just like, wow. I mean, the having a real baby on screen in those moments makes such an impact in a short period of time.
Absolutely. And you're obviously, you have a lot of expertise with period pieces. And this film so invokes the era so vividly. The costumes are amazing. I don't mean to be reductive, but you can do all your research and all your preparation. When you step into those clothes and, they give you the hair, does that help you step into the character?
It's the final and maybe most important piece to solidify a transformation. I can sit in a dark room talking to myself for months and doing a Google deep dive on the 1970s and 70s music and art and Pittsburgh and all of the things. But without that collaboration between the costume designer and the hair and makeup team, it isn't complete. The final click moment always happens for me when, on the day of a camera test or something, when you have the full look on and you step in front of a mirror hope that you don't recognize yourself. And it's that's one of my sources of joy as an actor, is being able to disappear into a character that completely. I think I'm not alone in this, but like I became an actor so I didn't have to be myself all the time. And what a gift to be able to dive so deeply into a character.
I don't know if you can admit this or not, but have you ever kept any of your clothes from any of your roles? Because I want your entire Maisel wardrobe.
I know. I think that in my head every time I put one of those beautiful dresses on, and then I remember the kind of gear that is required to make that outfit fit, and I take it straight back. But yes, definitely. I for sentimental reasons, and also sometimes just because the costumes are amazing, I always try to walk away with something. I have I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. I do have a beautiful coat from the second season of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, which I'm scared to wear because I love it so much. It's one of those. And walked away with Jean's incredible boots. I don't even know if you would have seen them, but the brown boots that she wears with that plaid skirt suit and the beret. I got those. I'm wearing them this winter.
I think I know the boots you're talking about because I think they've been in some of the promo pictures at least. And
I think that's probably correct. Yeah.
Yeah. That would have been my pick too.
Oh, they're so comfortable.
You've referenced this amazing cast. This is such a fantastic ensemble from top to bottom. As a producer, did you have any say in the casting? I know you've worked with some of them before.
Yeah, and it was such a treat to be on that side of the table and to be a part of some of those conversations. I'm sure it isn't always a treat depending on who you're working with, but Julia and Jordan are filmmakers who love actors, and to get to gush about actors that we loved all day long through this casting process was a dream. Marsha Stephanie Blake, who plays Terry, and I worked together in 2016. We met working on a production of Othello at New York Theater Workshop, and just fell in love with each other and had the most incredible time. I mean, I've definitely said this before, but she's extraordinary. Mm-hmm. She has been far too underrated for far too long. She's been tearing down the house on theaters all over New York for so many years. She's 5'2". She's this tiny lady who takes up space 5 times her size. Her energy is infectious. She's one of the most generous scene partners. She's so wise and kind, and she works her fucking ass off. I mean, she's a dream scene partner, and as a producer only, solely producer hat on, a dream collaborator on a project like this. And we were so lucky to get her in this moment, because I don't know if she's going to be available for much longer. And then with Arinze Kene, he actually was brought to us from our casting directors, Candace and Carly, here in New York. They were aware of his stage work in London and introduced Jordan and Julia and I to his work, and we thought he was phenomenal. And he had a meeting with Julia, and they hit it off right away, and that was that. And then our Pittsburgh casting directors brought the babies our way, and Julia knew from their picture that they were the babies Harry, as we call them, and then and met with them in Pittsburgh.
I'm always curious about that, because you can't really audition babies, can you? Or do a chemistry read?
You kind of can. I mean, I would have loved to be there, but was actually shooting still the 3rd season of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. So I came to Pittsburgh a bit later than I would have liked to, but was looking at videos of them, of the babies that they were meeting with. And I think there's a few key things in choosing babies. I mean, you have to have babies that are okay being held by strangers, because obviously, we don't know each other, and who are okay not seeing their parents all the time. Mm-hmm. And I mean, these babies are so particularly expressive as well. Their faces, I mean, they're beyond their years. And then Marceline, who plays the wonderful neighbor, was a find by our casting directors who were familiar with her. Bill Heck, he's so wonderful as Eddie, the perfect Eddie. I can't imagine anyone else in that part. yeah, it was so much fun, because even those roles, the roles are reversed. Obviously, these characters like Tuesday Weld make such an impact in such a short period of time. That's Bill Heck in this film. He makes such an impact. He stays burned into your brain as an audience throughout the course of the movie, and that's great casting.
And I've heard from so many actors that can be the hardest thing to do, is to
Yes.
come in and do like 3 lines on a show one week and make an impression as opposed to being the lead.
Absolutely. It's so much harder. I mean, I built a career that way, coming in and out of guest spots on television series. It's so intimidating. The crew is a family. The main cast is a family. They've all spent all this time together creating this world, and you come in and just hope that you don't fuck it up, and that everyone doesn't hate you. It's so intimidating. The hardest thing to do is to have one line or no lines, which I think so many actors get their start that way. I know I did. It's just so much pressure, and even though there's a different kind of pressure when you're carrying a project, you have more time, and when an audience gets to live with you for longer, they have a more complete experience than the pressure to make an impact in 30 seconds on film.
I'm guessing it's probably been a while since you had to audition for anything, but
Oh no, I
maybe
still
not.
audition.
What? Why don't you just bring in your Emmy and like?
I love auditioning. I don't
It's something to
always,
do.
but I'm absolutely here to. Auditioning is it's such a privilege. It's such a gift to have the space to prove yourself as an actor who, you know, I don't know if this is interesting or helpful for anyone who might be watching this, but I felt for many years like there was a great gift in the bar being really low, when I was brand new and nobody knew me, and no casting director or producer or director had preconceived notions about what I was capable of. The sky's the limit. And every time you step into an audition room, you get this opportunity to prove that you can do something that maybe you didn't know you could do. I've certainly had that experience. And now, as an actor with a body of work, but that is fairly limited, I'd like to think that I'm still kind of new. I feel that way, certainly. An audition is still an opportunity to prove to whoever your potential collaborators are, that you're capable of something that they might not have thought, or that you have a different way into a character that they may have seen a certain way. I felt for a while that when I was hitting the point where people wanted to take meetings, which again is a great privilege, that I was losing roles in the room, because I've never really played myself on screen. And so I don't know how you glean from a 30-minute conversation that someone is right for a part that is maybe or hopefully different from them.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned that this is an independent film, and I think it was a fairly short shoot, although you got to shoot somewhat in order, which is nice. What did end up being the biggest challenge for you as an actor?
That's a great question. There are a number, but I think the babies are, I think, the most obvious challenge that as an actor, and as an actor playing a role that feels very far away from me, and that is stretching different muscles than ones I've ever stretched before. A moment before a scene begins, to kind of sink in and take a deep breath and center yourself and find that space before you walk into a scene feels really important. Mm. But when you have a baby in your arms, you don't get that moment. A baby you're trying to keep a baby calm and with you, and hoping that, they don't cry in the middle of a scene that they're not supposed to. And so I was very nervous about not having that time, but it actually, as much as it was really challenging, it also became I keep using the word gift, but it's true that we were all forced to be present in every moment. That's what we're always supposed to be doing, but it can become very easy to get lost inside your head, or to be pre-planning out what you're going to do in a scene. And the babies kept us honest. But also, another challenge in this particular project was that as it was my first time acting and producing, juggling wearing both hats at the same time was a new challenge that I'd never experienced before. I am an actor who loves rehearsal. It's my favorite part about theater, is having weeks and weeks to rehearse without the pressure of an audience, where you can just try things and throw things at the wall every day and hope that some kind of magic happens that you can recreate. And the pre-production process felt like that same kind of magic. And I loved being primarily or only a producer in that pre-production period. And then once we were shooting, trying to juggle both roles was a challenge. I wanted to be in front of the camera and behind it at the same time. And found myself, wondering how many hours we had left with these babies while also trying to perform with them. But it was a growth experience. And I think, as with anything, practice makes progress. So next time, maybe that duality will come easier.
Who's a more challenging scene partner, the babies or Sterling K. Brown? Who, by the way,
Sterling, that guy's an asshole. No, Sterling's amazing. Definitely the babies. Sterling is a dream scene partner. If anyone's had the opportunity to hear him speak, I mean, he's one of the smartest, kindest, most energetic, wonderful humans that I've ever had the privilege of sharing space with. He's amazing and just gets better and better everything he does.
How is that possible? It's insane.
He's so good.
He has a little cameo in Yearly Departed. I think he's the only man we see. And just one line, and I'm laughing for 20 minutes.
I know. Our entire production team squealed like schoolgirls when Sterling said yes to that small cameo.
It's literally just him lying on the floor, and he's so good. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, he's perfect in every way.
You often find yourself in these amazing ensembles. Like, most of your projects are sort of ensemble oriented. And I don't know if that's something you're drawn to, if that's a theater background sort of thing, or you've just been fortunate in that way.
I think all of the above. It definitely feels reminiscent of theater. Theater, I mean, many films do too, but theater is known for valuing that collaboration and the recognition that a play doesn't come to life without every single person's full commitment and attention and time and talent. And I feel so fortunate to have been able to recreate that experience on so many film and television sets. I mean, on Maisel, our entire cast and a number of our crew come from theater, and you can feel that in every moment of us being able to shoot together. And then on a project like I'm Your Woman, obviously Marcia, Stephanie, and I met doing a play. Arinze is a brilliant theater actor, and Julia has experience in theater as well. I mean, the dream is to be able to work with your friends and artists you admire, and to be able to do both. It's like, how can we top this from here? But I know I am the actor that I am from continually having the opportunity to work with actors who are better than me and who are more experienced than me. And I'm the beneficiary of not only being able to just observe them working, but of so many of them taking the time to pass on their wisdom and experience. That's how you grow. That's how you become great.
Well, what I really want to do is tell you need to go back and host Saturday Night Live again, because that was one of the best episodes I'd ever seen.
Oh my God, thank you.
So good.
That was absolutely the scariest thing that's ever happened. I would love to do it again so that I can be a little bit less blacked out. I just was
like, first time is a blur, and then from then on it's cake.
Oh man, that team is amazing. I mean, they're a well-oiled machine. They bring people in and carry them forth, and I'm amazed by the whole thing.
I went to, they shot a dress rehearsal, I guess it was, one night, and I couldn't believe how small the stage is.
Yeah, it's tiny. And they make so many sets on that tiny. I know, I had the same experience. I was like, so small in here.
Is there another studio, or are we just in one?
It's also one of those things where no matter how many times you've read or heard about someone's experience, you can't possibly imagine until you're in that position. I mean, I'll never forget hiding behind the bleachers and people ripping my clothes off and my wigs off, and it's like they just spin you around and push you out and you're a different person. I mean, it's that whole team is extraordinary.
It was amazing. I was amazed by how many things I went, Russell Crowe was the host the night I went, and there was like 5 sketches they did that didn't end up on air.
Yeah, we had probably 4 or maybe even 5 that didn't make it to air.
And they were funny.
I don't know how they choose. They're all funny. There's so many funny ideas that don't even make it that far.
I'm going to mention Julia Hart again because I really want people to check out all her movies, especially Fast Color.
Fast Color, Miss Stevens, Stargirl.
Yes, she made 2 movies last year. That's crazy.
I know, she's a beast.
But it sounds like you had a really great working relationship, and you've worked with so many amazing directors. What do you like in a director when you show up to set? What are you hoping most for?
That's a great question. So many of my experiences have been unexpected and have taught me a lot about what I wanted that I didn't necessarily know I wanted. I think I value the most directors who are committed to understanding each person on their set, whether it's in front of or behind the camera, understanding each person's needs and way of working. I'm so grateful to directors who take the time to figure out how I work and who learn where I'm my own worst enemy and where to push and challenge me, and also where to, be gentle. I also love directors who value and who openly value their crews. It is a family, whether you like it or not, all of these people are in one place for an extended period of time making something together. And I think the best directors are the ones who recognize every single person's role in that process. And Julia is certainly both of those things. She's so generous with her time and her spirit, and she's comfortable being all of the things that she is all at once. She is a mom, she is a director, she is a writer, she's a former teacher, she's a wife. She is all of those things all at the same time. And that's so much more rare than I think people realize, especially for women who often feel like, especially in positions of leadership, like they need to leave certain parts of themselves at home. But Julia recognizes that all of those parts of her make her who she is, and they are her strength. And because she recognizes that, she brings that out in other people. So I felt like I got to see sides of certain crew members that I had never seen before. We had so many parents on this set, so many kind and gentle men in positions that you just don't expect. You don't expect that from. And I think it makes everyone's work better.
Well, I want to remind everyone watching at home that I'm Your Woman is actually now on Amazon Prime, so you can watch it. Yearly Departed is also on Amazon Prime. So check that out, because I can't imagine 2 more different performances.
No.
But thank you so much for being here, and congratulations on really you have a lot of good stuff out right now.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you everyone in the ether for being here and watching the film. And thank you for asking such thoughtful questions. I really appreciate it.
Thanks.